everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Barley, Hops, and Yarn podcast. My name is Jennifer. I'm the face behind Barley, Hops, and Yarn. This is primarily a knitting podcast or fiber podcast. Today's episode, we will be going over the Sew Summer by Jessie Maed shirt pattern, which is what you see me wearing now. Sometimes my other episodes will be your standard knitting podcast format of finished objects, whip, acquisitions, etc. Sometimes lately they've been reviewing patterns, but yeah, today we are going to be reviewing this pattern and let's get into it. So like I said, this is also, I have my notes, so if I'm looking down, that's why, making sure I'm not saying the wrong things. So like I said, this is a Sew Summer shirt. It's by Jessie Maed Designs. You can get it for $10 on Ravelry. I don't know if she has another platform with which you can buy patterns that are not Ravelry, but I'll try to check before I upload the video. There is also a shorts pattern to go along with this. It's called the Sew Summer Shorts. That one you can get for $9. And it is size inclusive with a finished bust size for the top itself of between 36 to 68 inches. Obviously that depends on how much ease you want. The pattern calls for between 6 to 10 inches, which would mean the top end goes to like a 62-inch actual bust size. The yarn I used is Hedgehog Fibres in Sock, which is a 90-10 base. This is the colorway Deep End. Their sock base is 437 yards per 100 gram skein. They're based out of Ireland, so I don't remember what like their cost is in euro versus the conversion rate, but I want to say we'll say somewhere around $30 USD is what each skein costs. All right, so the pattern itself is written very clearly, but Jessie Maed uses lots of words in her pattern, which does not mesh well with my brand of ADHD, which means that I missed pertinent info, such as this is a bottom up pattern. And if you've seen some of my other episodes, I did not know that this was a bottom up pattern because obviously that's on me. I didn't read the pattern correctly, but I did not know that. So when I first started it, I knew I wanted a rolled hem at the top. I assumed incorrectly it was top down, so I did the rolled hem start, only to get like a good 8 inches done and realize, oh crap, this is bottom up and I wanted a folded hem at the bottom, so that's not what I want. So I did end up having to frog it, which 10 out of 10 recommend. So glad I did it. I had to talk myself into it because I had done so much work already. I was like, could I be happy with the rolled hem at the bottom? And ultimately I decided no, I was not going to be happy with that. So just frog it, start over it, we're good. And I don't know if this is a reading error on my end because I could have looked at the wrong size when I was purchasing the yarn originally, or if, no, it had to be a reading error on my end, or just a mistake I made. None of that has to do with the pattern, so that was a weird way to start it. Never mind, that's all me. But I got 2 skeins. Like I said, this yarn was 437 per skein. So I thought when I bought it that 874 yards would be sufficient. The size 3X, which is possibly what I was originally looking at, calls for between 700, sorry, I got a weird text, 792 yards and 990. So it is possible that you could make this top with only 2 skeins in the 3X size. But I ended up needing a 3rd skein and had to order a 3rd skein. So I had to put the project kind of on pause, and I had 9 grams left of that 3rd skein. So I did end up making the size 4X, which is partially what could have contributed to my yarn issue. And I also made it 2 inches longer, which contributed to my yarn issue. But I used, oh, sorry, I told you the wrong thing. I had 16 grams left over, not 9, my bad. but that means I use 284 grams, which is 1,241 yards. And the size 4X calls for 852 yards to 1,065 yards. So even with that, I would have needed to buy the third skein anyway by going up to the 4X size. But I didn't expect that adding 2 inches to the body. Quick timeout. Baby's crying. BRB. I was hoping that we could get this in while the baby napped in his crib, but apparently not, so here we are. All right, so as I was saying, I would have needed that third skein of yarn anyway, but I was surprised that simply adding 2 inches to the body required 200 more yards, because that's 100 yards per inch. And I realized that I'm doing it at a wider circumference since I knit the size 4X, but that was surprising to me. I did want to do a folded hem on the arm as well, but I did not want to play yarn chicken in a significant manner. So I opted to do ribbing instead, which is fine. I am happy with how it has turned out total, and I legit wear this all the time. Now I will say, with the yarn and with Hedgehog Fibres, I am really, really disappointed with the amount of bleeding that happened in it. I recognize that blue is a harder color to, yeah, there we go, he likes that. I recognize that blue is a harder color to like get to set without having any bleeding, but the amount of bleeding that this had was, in my opinion, like super excessive. Like, it hit the bath when I went to soak it, water immediately turned blue. So I'm disappointed in that, but it is what it is. And I do like how the yarn feels in this pattern and gauge. It is pretty airy, so like when I wear it when it's warmer outside, I'm not sweating or anything. But if I do have a sweatshirt on top over it, it definitely traps the heat and I get warm. So it's a good layering piece for days where you're not sure what it's gonna be. I'm so sorry that I'm doing this while swaying, but this is just what my life looks like right now, so welcome. All right, so as I've said multiple times, I knit a size 4X. What does that mean? The finished bust is 64 inches, which my bust size is 54. So that gave me the larger end of the 10 inches of positive ease. I did want that because I wanted this to be an oversized, comfortable shirt. So yeah, the 3X was 60 inches. So I could have gone down a size if I really wanted to. But I wanted it to be a little bit more loose and casual, and I wanted to be able to wear it over top of like jumpers or dresses or things like that. Gauge wise, the gauge is meant to be 22 stitches per 4 inches. I came really close to that without gauge swatching. As you all know, I don't swatch. And I was 23 inches. I got 2 more stitches out of that from blocking. Well, I realized that's probably kind of backwards, I would think. I don't know. I'm confused by my notes, so we're just gonna move on from that. So the top itself is meant to be cropped. You're meant to have about 8 inches from under the arm down to the body. As I said, I added 2 inches to that because I wanted to have a little bit, I didn't want it to be quite so cropped so that I could wear it with regular pants. So I'm gonna stand up for a second. It comes, I'm wearing high-waisted like joggers right now, and it comes right over. It's like there's maybe like an inch extra of space. So I really like where it hits. I'm really happy with that. When I was pregnant, when it's just when I finished it, it was like definitely very cropped. You could tell. I'll insert a photo. I called it my Winnie the Pooh era because belly was out. But I was very happy with how well this worked during pregnancy and now without being pregnant. Let's see, what else do I have notes wise? Let's see, I talked about all of that. Talked about that. Hi. Yeah, I know, buddy. I'm so sorry. Yes, my issue is sizing. So we're making, when we knit, when we sew, crochet, whatever it is, we are making all of these garments to our measurements, right? So I find it really frustrating that we need to attach like standard store sizes, like small through 4X or 5X or whatever it is, because ultimately that doesn't mean anything. Like even in a standard box store, that doesn't mean anything. I know Old Navy is one of like the big, they're notoriously known for this, but like I can go to Old Navy and try on one dress that's extra small, one dress that's large, and another dress that is 2XL, and all three will fit me because they're just different dresses and there's not really consistency with the sizes. So ultimately none of that means anything, and so I find it really frustrating, just like from a size inclusivity standpoint, a body image standpoint, just how things make sense cognitively standpoint, that we on knitting patterns put those like store sizes on them. For Jessie Maed specifically, you know, I knit this in a 4X. I don't care that much that it's 4X. Is it weird to think that I'm wearing something that's a 4X? Kind of, sort of, yeah. Buddy, you gotta let me do this. Because now I gotta go back and see if there's too much fussiness going on. If there's too much fussiness going on that they can all hear, then I have to re-record. And no one wants to re-record a podcast. Yeah, that's right. Close your eyes. Close lips. But yeah, so then at the same time as I was knitting this, I was knitting another Jessie Maed pattern, and it's a bralette, which is meant to have like, I think 11 inches of negative ease. And so I was knitting an extra large in that. So to have one pattern where I'm knitting an extra large and one pattern where I'm knitting a 4X, and really the only reason that I am knitting such vastly different sizes is because of ease, is kind of annoying. Like, why can't we just go off of the measurements, or why can't we just like have numbers associated instead of having to do the full like small through whatever number XL? That's just my opinion. You can agree or disagree. I just personally find it useless and kind of annoying, because what's the point? For this pattern, all in all, I would say it was pretty easy. It was pretty beginner friendly for being, I guess this is technically called considered a drop shoulder. I don't actually know. I don't know the classifications of all of those things. And as long as you're open to knitting bottom up. I know a lot of people don't like knitting bottom up because you can't really try it on as you go. So you have to trust the process and trust your measurements. But I didn't mind. It turned out. It was fine. You need to know or be unafraid of learning if you don't already know. Make one left, make one right, short rows, which she calls double stitches, 3 needle bind off, picking up stitches, knitting both in the round and flat. And depending on what kind of hemline you choose to go for, you might need to know a provisional cast on. I would not knit this again, not because there's anything wrong with the pattern or because I don't like it, but just because I don't need another pattern of this kind that fits the way it does. I have one, I'm happy with it, and I'm good. And that's pretty much all I have based on this pattern. I would say ultimately my final grade would be an A, maybe a B+. The things that I would take points off for would just be how wordy the pattern is, but again, that's my brand of ADHD. I'm sure some other people, especially beginners, would appreciate the extra information that she gives in the patterns. It's just not for me. And while I love my yarn and the colors and everything, I don't love how much it bled. So I would say all in all, I will go ahead and give this project a B+. Those two things, if I could take out the wordiness and I could take out the yarn bleeding, I'd knock it up to an A, or bump it up to an A. Knock implies down, bump implies up. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me. I'm gonna go back and watch this footage and find out if you can hear if his fussiness is disturbing to the podcast or not. I hope it's not, but we'll see. And ultimately, thanks for joining me. If you stayed and had fun, I'd appreciate it if you liked, subscribed, commented, did all the YouTube things. But until the next episode, have a great one.